In this video, we'll learn how to make graphs in Microsoft Excel. So let's look at this example here. So this is saving account equation and money market equation. And we need to translate the equation, put that in Excel using the cell referencing. So if you look here, like xi and xi minus 1, so it doesn't matter if you pick a cell. Let's say if I pick xi as B4, then xi minus 1 will be B3. So that's merely just means a cell, and this will be the cell that's just before it. We need the annual percentage yield. So for the savings, so this is a constant, and this is why we need to use absolute referencing there. So make sure we need this number here. So we need to have its address, and if you click there, so that's H9, and we have to put the $sign. So if you look there in the so let me just maybe start typing it so you can see it in the cell. So we need this to be C14 equal the C13. I can type it or I can just click on it. So that will be, I mean, the B13 plus, and we just do the plus, and then we open a parenthesis there, and then we need the right constant, the APY for the savings. So I click on that. So I click on the constant, and because I need this to be constant, so I need to change that to absolute reference. So I put a $sign. Since I'm going to drag it down, so I need to make sure the row number is fixed, but it's okay to also put a $sign in front of the H to make it not mixed, or to make it completely absolute reference there. And then multiplied by, so this is again xi minus 1, so this will be B13 again. So I just click on B13, I close the parentheses, and then plus, and the constant there is 2000. So that give me the result there. And then I don't have to do it for the other ones, and this is what interesting about using Microsoft Excel. Yeah, think about if you have 1,000 or 100 or large number of values, I can just drag. So you get to the lower right, and you can see that the mouse change into the plus sign, and I just drag it down, so you can see it start calculating for me. So you don't need even, you just do it one time and then just drag, and that will be a quick way of doing the calculation. So you have to learn how to do these calculations and how to do the relative reference. So if you look here, so if you can look back there, so for B14, you can see the H9 does not change. If I change go to the next one, still the constant is fixed. So H9, so that doesn't change. But if you look at that xi minus 1, it will always look at the one before. So this is the relative location. So for the first one, it was B13. Keep looking here. If I change it to the next one, it's B14, B15. So you can see it changed. This is a relative reference, and that's the power of using the relative reference compared to the absolute reference there. This is the other one here. So I already did it here, but I can print it for you again. So again, when we do this, the only thing we need to change, we need to use the second equation. So we make sure use the other constant. So we use the 1.8, which is for the money market. And when we add 1,000 instead of 2,000. So let's look how, so let's type there. So that's, again, xi in my case, this will be C14. So C14 equal, we don't need to put C14, just always the formula starts with the equal sign and equal the one before it. If I'm in C13 and C14, then 14 minus 1, so this will be C13 plus, then I open a parenthesis there, and then I need the APY for the money market, so I just click on it, so I don't need to type it, so that's even reduce the chance for making mistakes, multiplied by, and yeah, don't forget, if you forget that, let's just keep it without changing it into absolute reference and see what happens, and just to for the purpose of practicing here, times the xi minus 1, since we are in 14, then I minus 1 will be 13, so that's the number, and then plus the constant, which is 1000. We could do the constant in another cell, but since it's just changing here, plus 1000. So that would be correct. But if you look here, we did not change the H10 to absolute reference. So if I drag it, it's going to give me results, but that's not going to be the correct. So if you look, you get 9,000 after 8 years, like savings, compared if you are putting it in saving, then 15,000. But we know this is not right because is not looking at the right equation here. So let's fix it. So let's see now. If you look at the last one, is 12,000. If we go back and change that into absolute reference, so that we keep it, yeah, because if you look, it did not change like the first one. Then the second one, it's H11, so mainly it came here, and then H12, H13. So that's we don't need that because the nothing is there. So we only want it to be H11. So we go back and we change that into absolute reference. And yeah, put the pointer after the equation and just put or tab or enter. So the first one was still correct, but now when we drag, so you can see it's different number. We got 13,000, which is a better number and compared to the saving. Okay, so that's important, how to translate or to transfer mathematical equations into formulas using Microsoft Excel. So always remember when you need to use absolute reference compared to relative reference. So how do we do graphs next? So we highlight the data. So again, to highlight, I write left click and keep clicking. So when I click, and then I just move my highlight until I highlight all the area I want. So now you can see the color change means the year and the saving and the market are highlighted. Then you go in the top menu, you go to insert, and then you look for the graph. For this one, I want scattered, so I can look at that one. So this is, you can look at the name. So like this is the column, this is the line. So different graphing, and this is the pie chart, and this is the one I want to do to show the data for both of them. And then it give you, if you want, you can only put the points, or you could also put the points with lines. So that's and you can see it give you a description of each graph. Let's use this one. So that's the graph we got there, and then we need to make improvement to the graph. We could change the size by dragging the corners, and we could change the titles. I can just type the title here, so maybe something that reflects what you did here. So maybe, and then the legend, you can maybe drag it. I can drag it here so that you can see it better. We could change that so you can make them one under the other instead of having both next to each other. labels for the X and the Y axis. So I get to the plus sign, if you can see it here. So there is a plus sign to the top right of the graph, and I put a title axis. I have to put a check mark next to it, and then I just change that to year. This one I can just change to $sign. So I could drag it down, make it larger. I can drag it to the left. I could remove the grid lines, so I could change the mark. So I could just click on one. We call that data series. Then after you click on it, then right click, and you get to format data series, and then you get to the first like the first icon here, fill and line, and then we could use different shapes. You can see this is the line. I need to change the marker, so just change to markers. So the first option here is marker options. You can have to click on the small triangle there, and you can see I could have different options there. So here now it's automatic, so I have to check build in and pick different shapes. So I could use the triangle or X or any other shape. Let's do triangles here, and then you could make it smaller, larger. So let's just make it size of 4, and I could change the color too. So let's make it blue, for example. So we have the blue, the other one. So let's just keep it red. Let's see how it looks like. So now you can see if you have different color printers, so one of them circles, one of them triangles, so that's better. And as I said, you could change the color too. So that's important, to make your graph looks good. So you have always to look at this and make these changes so that it looks different. And then what else we could do? You could change format the axis. So if you go to the X axis, you could right click and format axis. So I could instead of like I could start from 1 instead of 0. So I can just change that to 1. And let's say instead of 9, I look for the highest here is 8. I just need to go to 8, and then you could change the major and minor units there. So let's see how it looks like now. So you can see now it's go from 1 year to 8 years. So you don't need to see the 0 and 9. So that give you a better scale graph. We could change this. You can see in 1000. We could change also right click and see what options do we have to put the savings we make. So format axis there. So this is the maximum. This is the minimum. We could change the major and the minor. And we could change you can see if you see the display unit, we could make it in thousands. So you can see now it looks better, and just it show you that this is in 1000. And we could do that in other units too. So that's, I think, looks better. So it's easier to read, like 2000, 4000. And we could actually, we don't need the 2 decimal places. Let's see if we can get rid of them too. And to get rid of that decimal places, we come to numbers. And if you look there, that says how many decimal places. So I could just change that to 0. And that's, I think, since I don't have this, so that will give me get rid of the decimal places. And there are other things you could change. So just look into them and try see whatever change you make. You can see it here. Then you can decide if you want to keep it or pick something else. Okay, I think it looks good. I mean, you could change that to bold. Maybe the the year. The same thing for the dollar sign. I could make that to bold. Again, I could change the color. I could make this different colors. Let's just keep that menu. So how about we make it blue? The same thing here. Let's just make it blue. Okay, let's see if we can format the grid line. So I could just say automatic, or I could just say no lines. So you can see that the grid lines will disappear. One more thing I want you to learn about graphs is, if you get to pick one of the series, you could change the data. So if you right click, and you can say right click, then go to select data, and you can see this is the data we have. So we have saving one data series for saving and the other for money market. We could actually make one of them disappear. So like if I do that, then I can see only the money market. Or I could add something more if I need to. So let's go back to select, and I need both of them to appear. And then you could also make edits to that. So I could come here. That will show you what title do you want for it. Then what's the x-axis, and you can see whatever you select, it will be highlighted. This is I'm not sure if you can see that, but this is the heading that I want to appear. Then this is the x-axis. So just by clicking it, it will show you the highlighted dotted lines around the x-axis, what you want to be in the x-axis, and this is the y-axis. So let's say if we decide to do something else, or then you can just come here and pick something different. We're not going to make this change now, but we could do that too. So that keep that. And let's say if I need to compare something different, then I can just come back here and go to select data there, and then I can also add. So you could add another series. So let's say if I want another series, I just want to call it whatever checking or something different. And then let's say I want the x-axis, so I just select that for the x-axis, and then I go and select the y-axis. So that in my case will be, I don't have different data, but let's say I can just choose that again just for exercise here. And you can see it changed color because I picked something different. So has many applications for it, that sometimes we need to add more to the graph. Okay, and then we have different options for the charts. So if you look, we could put the data, again, we could also put the data in different sheets, like this is like what I have it here, the basic graphing. I could put the data in, I just insert, like if I need something else, I just come to insert, and then pick the graph I want. Let's say if I want a pie graph, then I just put it there, and then I go to select data. I could go to another sheet, like if I have the series, and then I just come here and click. This will be my x-axis, and this will be my y-axis, and so on. Different types that you need to be familiar with. The pie chart, you can see visually, it can show you how much saving for each one. So this is merely just looking at, if you look at the data here, so let's just select data and see where is that coming from. And you can see it's coming from the year 8. So that's merely the saving and the money market. And you could edit that if you want, but we don't need to make change. Another way of showing it, we call that area chart. You can see also still give you good results for it. Another type, which is the one we did, look for all the data, which is XY scattered plot, but without lines. Horizontal lines, this is called bar chart. And this is line graph without showing the points. So this is like the opposite of this one, like a scattered plot, and this is the line chart. And this is the stacked bar, which is can show you the two at the same time compared to each other at different years, and how much saving if you have money in saving and money in your money market. This is how much saving if you put start with 1,000, I think, in first year in saving and 5,000 in money market. This is how much you will have after 8 years. So these are the common chart type that you need to be familiar with. And you can see different charts communicate different applications. So can keep that in mind when you want to include a graph, which type can communicate better to your audience about what you are trying to convey to them. Okay, in this example, we will learn about how to put thread lines and how to add more to predict some data here. So let's say if you have births and deaths in different years for a city, or that's like in the years, and we already have the graph done here, then we need to find the difference. So I can just need to make the formula. So equal births, I just click on birth, and that will be the B10 minus, I click on the death. And this is, I need to drag it, so this should be a relative reference, so I don't need to put a $sign there. So then I just click, that will give you how much births more than deaths for 2002, and I can drag it down. That will do the calculation for me for the remaining years, and it's always positive, so there are more births than deaths there. And then the graph, if you look for the graph, so this is the data chart for it. And the new thing we like to learn, we already did the graphs like the first time. If you need to make the graphs yourself, you can just highlight this and come insert and come to the scattered, and you pick that, you get the same graph. Then you have to just add headings, the title and the labels to the X and Y axis, and the ligand to both of them. So since we already did that, I'm not going to do it again. So let's now learn like trend lines. So let's show you what's kind of, let's say, if we look at this, what will be the trend? Like if we look at 2014 or 16, how many births can we predict that just by looking at the graph? So that's what we call the trend line. So you click on that, so you can see there's the plus sign in the top right corner. If you click on that, the last square is the trend line, and there's an arrow there. If you like, you can get that, and maybe I can have different options. What kind of trend line do you want? I mean, I need linear here, or I can make it for a linear with forecast, so that it can be extended for future years. So I do that, and I need to do that for both. Let's just do it for this now, and then we come back and we do it again for births. Okay, then just click on it, and then I may need to make the graph a little larger so you can see. And then you could you could change the format, like what we did with the points. So I can just click on the line and then right click, format thread line. You could make it different. You could change the the format for it. So I could, if we go to the dash type, so I could make a dashed line. So I could change the color here to something different, maybe, let's see, blue. I can maybe go with the red. And then do the same thing to the other line. I can change it to dashed line, maybe different dashed line. And then maybe I can change the color. How about we make it darker blue? What else I can add? I can, if you go back to, let's close this. If we go back to the plus sign there, I can add an equation, which is important for us to do the calculation. So we can go to more options, click on that. And if you go to the bottom there, you need to put a check display equation on the chart. So that's important. You know, this is the equation for the line. So this is how we can predict, we just put, let's say 2016 instead of the X, we can find how many births and or deaths there. We have something else we need to do or learn about. It's called R square. And let's show that, and we'll talk about this shortly. And let's do this for both lines. So let's add the equation for the other thread line. So more options. So again, let me show it again. So you get from the plus to the thread line. There is an arrow there. Get to more options, and then go to the bottom and put a check mark instead of display equation on the chart, and display R square on the chart. And that will show you the equations. And then you could move it. You can just click and just format it so that it can look better. So these are the equations we have. And you can, as you can see here, if you look at the R square, let's look at the R square first. So this one is 0.68 for the blue dots, this which is the birth, and this one is 0.94. So what do you think that means to you? So you can see that how good the points fits the trend line. So like this one is less, like this one is, you can see there are more points close to the line or at the line. So this is why you have higher. So that we can R square, if all points are exactly on the line, the R square will be 1. So the closer to 1, the value of R square to 1, that means the closer the points to the trend line. When it is closer to 0, means the points are all over the way, all over, which is not good fit. The line is not a good fit for the points. And as I said, we could take that. We could take these equations to calculate how many deaths we can. So let's say if I want how many births in 2016, I just put 2016 instead of the X. So equal 71959 times 2000. Let's do it 14 minus 1 8 to the 8th. So that gives you the estimated birth in 2000. Which one we chose? We did 2014. So this is 1, 2, 3. So this is 4 million. So that's somewhere in between here. So 4 million and 492,000. So you could do that, and you could do the same thing for the number of deaths here. So you could do that for, let's say, 2014. Yeah, actually, I can make it. I think that will be a better. Make it a constant here, like 2014 and 2016. So for the equation here, so 2014, I can just put can just select the cell there. And then by dragging it, I can predict how many births in 2015. So you could pick any other year and apply it. So I can do that to 2018 and see what's the trend is. So you can see it's increasing. So that's basically what I expect you to know. And again, that's important to learn how to make graphs and how to make them look good, and know how to make modification to them, how to add data, how to make sure we have a good title for the graph, labels for the x-axis and the y-axis, and you can change the marks and the line, change the color, put the equations in the trend line, and all of that should be familiar with doing it. Okay, thank you.